Hey, I'm John Tabler, and in this video today, I'm going to show you an article that just came out a few days ago about baby food manufacturers allowing contaminated food with heavy metals to actually remain on the shelves. You know, in this society, we really can't trust the food that we have. We've got to know what to do about that, though. And I'm going to show you some solutions and some things that we can do about them as the video goes on. So hit the subscribe button down below and also the like button, and let's get started. So this article says manufacturers allowed baby food contaminated with heavy metals to remain on shelves, and it says Gerber and Beech-Nut failed to properly test and remove baby foods with dangerous levels of inorganic arsenic from the market, while Sprout Food Incorporated, Walmart's Parents' Choice, and Plum Organics, formerly owned by Campbell, were lax in testing and controlling for heavy metals such as lead, mercury, and cadmium, according to a U.S. congressional report released Wednesday by the House Subcommittee on Economic and Consumer Policy. It says that today's report reveals that companies not only underreport the high levels of toxic content in their baby food, but also knowingly keep toxic products on the market, said Democratic Rep. Raja Krishnamurti of Illinois, chair of the House Subcommittee on Economic and Consumer Policy, which conducted the investigation. So basically what they're saying is that there's really tainted food that's been left on the shelves contaminated by heavy metals, which cause all sorts of problems. Exposure, it says exposure to heavy metals in baby food became a growing concern for parents after Healthy Babies' Bright Futures, a coalition of advocates committed to reducing babies' exposures to neurotoxic chemicals, tested 168 baby foods from major manufacturers in the United States. The testing found 95% of sampled baby foods contained lead, 73% contained arsenic, 75% contained cadmium, and 32% contained mercury. 1/4 of the baby foods contained all four heavy metals. The results mimicked a previous study by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration that found one or more of the same metals in 33 of 39 types of baby food tested. So this is basically just horribly tainted food that is toxic that people have been feeding their babies, trusting in the system. And you know, once you find this out, you really got to do something about it. First thing you'd say is, well, how much is in there? Well, as they went on and investigated, they found, well, first off, they said there's no safe level of lead for children, according to the EPA and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. While there are no specific limits set for infant foods, the EPA and the FDA set an upper limit of 2 parts per billion of inorganic mercury in drinking water and 5 parts per billion for cadmium. So what they've done is they've actually had limits set on drinking water of how much they're actually willing to allow to pass. In 2016, the FDA introduced a standard of 100 parts per billion for inorganic arsenic in infant rice cereal, finalizing that guidance in August of 2020, but that level is too high to protect babies' brains, critics said, especially considering the agency had already set a limit for bottled water at 10 parts per billion. And you can see that in the Code of Federal Regulations. There's actually levels that they set for drinking water, and here's arsenic at 10 parts per billion. We have cadmium at 5 parts per billion, lead 5 parts per billion, mercury 2 parts per billion. And going back to the article, it says the FDA set the limit at 100 parts per billion because it was focused on the level of inorganic arsenic that would cause cancer. It totally disregarded the risk of neurological damage, which happens at much lower levels. And so people are going out buying these foods and feeding them to their babies and don't realize the extent of contamination that's in them. It says a maximum level of inorganic arsenic in baby food should be set at 10 parts per billion, with a 15 parts per billion limit for infant cereal. As this article goes on, you find out that Gerber, and right here I have some Gerber baby food, and you know, you can barely read the ingredients, so I don't think very many people are actually reading the ingredients. But when you go, I got to get a magnifying glass just to see, and I can see pretty well. But ingredients, drum roll please. Organic peas and water. Now this is an organic baby food, and so this is probably going to be much better because these things are supposed to be controlled. But you know, you never know. And Walmart actually recently, in 2018, abandoned a standard in place since 2013 that set an internal inorganic arsenic limit of 23 parts per billion. So in 2013, they allowed 23 parts per billion, but they quadrupled it now up to 100 parts per billion. Walmart offered no justification for its extreme course reversal on protecting babies' neurological development. They gave no reason for that. And so when you read through these articles and you find out your baby's food is tainted and that these heavy metals cause major neurological problems and brain development problems and can actually cause cancer, you're definitely not going to want to feed that to your baby or to yourself. And so what can someone do about that? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to say, well, how can I limit those toxins? And so one of the things I actually searched was how to make your own baby food. You know, baby food wasn't always made for everybody. It's not that hard. You take food like a banana or peas and crush them up so the baby doesn't have to chew them. And, you know, as long as you buy an organic and do the best you can, an organic product that has been hopefully checked for some of these things, although you never know, you can limit and do the best you can and limit a lot of these things. You know, there's a lot of companies that have come out now and started recognizing these things. And here's an article. It says the 8 best organic baby food brands of 2021. Well, the better companies of these are going to have looked at this and checked it. And one of those companies that I saw was called Hello Yummy. Of course, they're all called a nice name on the front, but you know, you don't want to read the sales pitch. You want to try to read testimonials and in this instance with this company, they start off right away and they say recent findings on heavy metals. We've been disturbed by the latest headlines revealing concerning levels of heavy metals in popular store-bought baby food brands. A 2021 report found that commercial baby foods are tainted with significant levels of toxic heavy metals, including arsenic, lead, cadmium, and mercury. So you know right away when they're setting off on talking about that, this is a company that's actually going to test before and after and make sure that they have healthy food. It was just one I picked at random. I'm sure there's plenty of other ones, but that's another thing you can do. You can find a company that pays attention to that. And also another thing is adding, you can make your own food. You can find companies again that take a look at that. And the third thing, which I wanted to back up and review those. The third thing is you can add probiotics to the diet of both yourself and your baby. I want to show you a couple studies that talk about that because probiotics are well known to bind and eliminate heavy metals, not only in tainted products, but also in the human body. And so if you can add that to your diet, that will actually take care of toxins that are already in your body. So you want to limit the ingestion of them, but once you've already had them, you want to add as many probiotics as you can to your diet, and we do that through fermented products. Here's one study, the study on removal of cadmium in rice using microbial fermentation method, and basically says this work mainly examined how to remove cadmium in rice by fermentation. Another study headline was biosorption of heavy metals by lactic acid bacteria and identification of mercury binding protein. Lactic acid bacteria is basically what's in fermentations like sauerkraut and most fermentations that create probiotics. Another study was bioabsorption of heavy metals by lactic acid bacteria for detoxification. And the abstract reads, the gradual accumulation of heavy metals can have detrimental effects on health. Lactic acid bacteria are common microbes used as probiotics. Various strains are consumed in food products of lactic acid bacteria, especially in fermented foods. Many studies have suggested that lactic acid bacteria with high affinity to harmful heavy metals can be used as efficient detoxification tools. So, you know, although your baby might not want to eat a bunch of sauerkraut, there's other things that you can actually make. One of them is fermented applesauce. So lacto-fermented applesauce. You take applesauce, and we're going to do some of these things coming up on this channel, but I just wanted to give you some ideas. If you go in and look how to do that, it's going to be made the same way as sauerkraut, but then you can sweeten it, and sweeten it with honey, and you'll have a full spectrum probiotic that your baby will eat that will help detox. And not only detoxes anything that might be on the apples themselves before you eat it, but it also detoxifies the human body from any toxins that might already be there. And so, again, you want to find a company, either make your own food, find a company that recognizes these things and tests for them, and add probiotics to your diet, your baby's diet, and these things will detoxify and create health. And so this is some of the things that we're going to do here. If you like this, hit the like button down below. Also hit the subscribe button. And in the future, I'm going to show many different ideas for baby food, but these are just a few of them right now I wanted to touch on. I wanted you to see that article. It was just in the news recently, and you really need to watch out for your loved one's health, whether it's your baby or your family members or any people that you care about. And even otherwise, you know, a lot of people need to find out about these things, and so everybody's health is kept in line and the best that it can possibly be. So I look forward to seeing you. I thank you for your support, and I'll talk to you next time.